Hi all, good evening. So we'll start and I saw the assignment that sent by P of you. Very good. It's a nice try. But few people wrote the variables which are not related to our class. What class consists we are discussing, right? So class consists of variables and methods. We should not put all the variables that are there what we think of. The variables should be related because they indicate the state. The statements I'm representing. So I'm writing a person class. In my example, I'm assigning name as Shankar. What the name variable is doing, it is holding some data to represent the state. So person's name is Shankar. That is a state. He has a age of 12 years. So that is a state. So example. So he is a programmer. True. That is a state. It is holding. So whenever we are trying to write a class, that's fine. So we just started our programming, no problem. So, but whenever we are defining a class, the variables should represent that class. I just mail you back all my comments. So few people wrote good. So hopefully everybody tested it. That's fine. So we'll continue with our program. So let me open. So we are storing all our files in Java batch 6 to 7, CD4. Okay. So this person is our program, right? So we'll modify our program a little bit. So before that, any doubts? Anybody is having any doubts? Okay. So we'll go and modify our program. I observed many of you wrote the program correctly, but in real time, we'll follow naming conventions. What are these naming conventions? I didn't mention yesterday, but we'll follow from now onwards. We'll follow. Whenever you are writing a program, following the naming conventions is must in real-time programming because your code will be reviewed by many people. So your code will be reviewed by your lead, or maybe some other person, or your code will be handed over to different batch of people who are managing our code. So the naming conventions means how to write the names. So how to write variable names, how to write method names, how to write class names, interface names, how to write constants, how to write the package names. These are different names that we will come across in our everyday programming. So yesterday you wrote, right? So somebody wrote phone class, jeans class, somebody wrote a cars. Good, very good. So, but whenever you are writing a class name or an interface name, if you observe our program, so predefined classes, if you observe here, let me open person.java. So if you observe the person class, so here system is a predefined class. Yes, yes is capital. The first letter, whatever we are trying to write down, the class names are capitals. String is a predefined class, that what we are using. S is capital. So whenever you are trying to write any class names, use first letter as a capital. Init cap. Example, so I want to write a color class. So how to write? C is a capital, color. I want to write a favorite color. How to write? F capital, color. So two letters are there here. We two words are there, first word and second word. So each and every word is having the first letter as a capital letter. My favorite color. So how to write my fav color? Each word is having a first letter as a capital letter. So we don't use underscores generally in defining the variables or in defining the names. So we can use any length of class names or variable names. There is no restriction of 255. So you can define as you wish. But names generally give appropriate names. And this is how we will define. Initial letter as a capital letter for all the classes. If you observe, I'm also writing a person class, the person P is a capital. So I'm not purposefully, I'm not intentionally saying that if you give C a small letter, it won't work. It will work, but in real-time programming, we will follow the same naming conventions everywhere, so that somebody is saying this is a class, this is a method, this is what it is. So easily they will understand by seeing these naming conventions. How to write the class names? Initial letter is a capital letter. Generally, the class names will give as a nouns or pronouns. Uh, that's fine. So you to give any name. Variables are method names. Camel case. So camel case means first letter, first word is a small letters, and from the starting of a second word onwards will be giving a initial capital. That's a camel case. So we'll see it. So I want to write a color as a variable name or a method name. So how you will write color? Only one word is there, so I am giving all small letters. Two words are there. Fav color. First word, all words are all letters are small letters. From the second word onwards, the initial letter is a capital letter. My favorite color. How to write this? My favorite color is a method. My fav color. So this is a camel case. So methods are having open brackets and closing brackets here, and will pass the parameters. Variables don't have it. My fav color is a method. This is how we will write camel case. Whenever we are writing method names or variable names, both will follow the camel case. Next, constants. So we'll see constants all caps separated with underscore. Mean priority. So for example, this mean underscore priority. So this is a constant. Whenever you see all caps and if you see all caps, that's nothing but a constant. We'll see what constants. Constants we can't change the values. And the package names all small letters. Separated with the dot. This is how we'll follow the naming conventions. We strictly follow the naming conventions in real-time program because our programming is a case sensitive. If somebody is writing a color here like this and somebody is writing another class, there is a chance that group of people are working in a project, right? So you all people are working in a project. Somebody wrote a color, and you also you assume that there is no color class, and you wrote like this. There are two classes with these two will be get compiled as a separate classes because C is small here, C is capital. So we strictly follow these naming conventions, and whenever you write a method name, it is always preferable to start with a verb. But there's no hard and fast rules, but it's always preferable to start with verbs: get, set, or print. So you are doing some action, right? Methods are doing some actions, some logic, so calculate kind of thing. So it's always preferable to start with the verbs, but that's fine to have it any method name. But naming conventions are very important. So if you observe, whenever we are typing any class names or method names, if you observe, they're also following these naming conventions. Any doubts here? So everybody understand, right? So we are writing classes, variables, methods. We will strictly follow these method naming conventions for the methods, classes, interfaces, constants, and packages. We'll see little later. So we'll go back to our class and we'll observe. So is programmer, see here, is programmer, is and P is a capital. This is a camel case. So these are all one letter words, sorry, one word letters. So I don't have anything here, small letters, all small letters. Print person data. So print, this is a camel case you need to follow, right? Print person data. And this variable name I gave it as a P. No problem. So if you given wrong in your earlier program, please try to change it, the naming conventions. Okay, so this is our program person where I'm printing some data. That's fine. So we'll compile our program and do Java C. How to compile? Java C person.java. Java person. So main method class name, Java main method class name. So here I'm getting. So if you observe, I'm printing some data, but I don't know what this 5.8 and what this 0.0, what this is true. So I want to give a label, name, age. I want to give a label. So you can give a label here. So I just want to extend this one. Yes. So strings are represented with double quotes, right? You can concatenate anything with the string using a plus symbol. It will automatically become a string. So here I want to give name. Okay, so I want to give here age. So age is an integer. Can I concatenate with the string? Yes, you can concatenate with the string with the string, string with the integer, string with byte, string with the object, anything. The automatically the remaining part what you are concatenating will automatically become a string. String plus anything is equal to string. Okay, so name. So here I want to put age. I want to put height. I want to put weight. Here the person is a program. So use the plus symbol to concatenate. Concatenate means append or add something to the string. So we can use the plus symbol. So here, so whenever you change a program, save it. Don't forget to save it and compile your program. You should compile your program and you should execute. So Java person. Hopefully everybody executed their first program and there are no doubts in setting the path as well as in writing the program, compiling it and executing it. Let me know at the initial stage itself if you face any problem. So here now I can read it. Okay, name is Ashok, age is 20, height so and so and weight, and he is programmer. Okay, let's go and see whether these objects, so I want to change the, so weight is 0.0 and weight is 0.0 here. So if you observe, I am not even assigning the weight here and here, but it is taking up 0.0. How it is doing it? I'm not giving it, and also I'm not assigned is programmer is a true or false to the next here Madhavi, but here it is taking as false. So how this is happening? I didn't give it, but it is taking it, right? So how this is happening? So here we have the variables. So what are these variables? These are variables in a class. These are also called as instance variables or class level variables. So coming back to our variables part. So what is a variable? Rohit, what is variable? Vinay. Anybody? What is a variable?
It is used to store the data.
Yes, it is used to store the data. So here we are defining the variables at the class level. Class level. These variables are called as instance variables. So why these are called as instance variables means for each instance you are creating, that means each object I am creating, it will create one separate copy of those variables. Let me check it out here how this is getting printed. So I want to print system.out.println the p. P is what is p? Here p is an object. I want to print the p. So can I print it? Yes, you want to print it. Anything you can print it in the using the println. So here I want to print p1. Let's check it out. I added these two statements. I didn't align properly. So to make it a different, so I am printing object here. P is an object. Here I am printing P1. P1 is an object. I want to print it. So let's see what is happening. If a compilation fails, you can't print it. You can't proceed. But if a compilation is not failing, so I can execute and see what is happening. The compilation is successful. Java, how to run this one? Person. If you see it, I printed as a last statement, right? So is programmer is true. So here, if you printed the object, that what you are getting here is a person at the rate 659E0BDEBFD. So what is this one? The person at the rate 2A139A. So here, whenever you print any object for any class, your object, your class object, or person class object, or employee class object, or a car class object, whatever the object that you are printing, whenever you want to print it, you will get the class name at the rate symbol and hexadecimal representation of memory location, where this object is stored in the memory location. This is a hexadecimal representation of the memory location. So I have a some memory location allotted for this object. So it is representing with the hexadecimal represent. It is giving the location ID. If you see here, this is a P1 object, right? This is P object. This is P1 object. If you see in the second thing, it is storing in a different location. Whenever you are creating an object, object will be created in a different memory location. Whenever you use a new operator, simply you use a new operator. Whenever you use a new operator, object will be created in a different memory location. Here I used a new operator again, and the object will be created in a different memory location. So objects are independent of each other. I created 10 objects, 10 different memory locations will be allocated. What is happening, what it will do with those memory locations, whatever the instance variables, whatever all the variables that you have, all these variables are stored in each instance. I created a person class object, so it is storing in 65 something, right? So 659E. So in this location, what it is stored, it is storing all this information: name, age, height, weight, is programmer. What about this method? Methods will be invoked only when they are get called. So here, if I am not invoking the method, it won't get it won't come into the memory. We'll discuss this one again. So but as of now, all the variables that you are writing in the person class or any class are called as instance variables, because whenever you create an instance, a separate copy of the set of these variables will be created in the memory. This is what is happening. Okay, let's go here. So variable types. So here variable types of instance variables. So these variables, whenever you define them in a class level, these variables are called as instance variables or class level variables. Second variables are called method variables. We don't write them now. Method variables, or these are also called as local variables. These variables are defined inside a method. So I have a main method here. I have a print person data here. I have a main method here. I can define some variables here. So let's define string description. So I want to define here person class info. Okay. So I want to print system.out.println. I want to print this information system.out.println description. I defined a variable inside the method. This is called as a local variable, and why this is called as a local variable means it will be available until this method is there, only available inside the method. So that's why this is called as a method level variable or local variable. These are the two types of variables we have: class level variables or instance variables, method level variables. Okay, so class level variables, what is happening here? Class level variables, so whenever you create an object, uh, the memory location will be allocated, and if you are not assigning any values, I'm assigning some values here. If you are not assigning any values, so here I didn't assign for weight 0.0, the weight is 0.0. I use programmer also, I didn't assign, it is coming false. Whenever you are not assigning anything to the instance variables, it will take default values. Let's create one more object here. How to create an object? Person p2 is equal to new person. I want to print system.out.println p2. So what this one is? So here I want to give a gap, little bit gap. System.out.println. So one empty line will be printed here, and p2. So I printed. So I want to print p2 dot. So print percentage. I want to call the method. I didn't assign any variables. I didn't assign any variables. Let's see what it is printing. So whenever you change the program, save it, compile your program, Java C person dot Java. Okay, compile Java person. See, this is the third one, third object. First object Ashok, second object Madhavi, third object. So person info class, person class info. This is printing person info, person class info, because I added a local variable. Name is null, age 0. I didn't assign anything here, but null 0, height 0.0, weight 0.0, false. These are default values. What are the default values here? Whenever you didn't assign any data, the class level variables or instance variables are assigned with the default values. What are these default values? Numbers without decimal are having so what are the numbers without decimal? Byte, short, int, long. Remember these things? So these are assigned with 0. This is a default value. Numbers with decimals, float, and double. These are assigned with 0.0. Next, boolean is assigned with false. Char is a empty character, just empty. And all others are reference types, right? So classes, interfaces, enums, arrays, all others are reference types. All reference types are assigned with null value. That's why string, name is a string, right? Name you are getting as a null, age is an integer, you are getting a 0, height and weight are double, and float you are getting 0.0, is programmer is a boolean, you are getting false. How you are getting false means this is how you are getting. Class level variables or instance variables are assigned with default values. What are default values? Integers, numbers without decimal 0, numbers with decimal 0.0, boolean false, char empty character, reference variables. What are reference variables? Classes, interfaces, arrays, enums. These are assigned with null. NULL, null is a keyword. What happens to the method variables or local variables? Let's go and see here. I want to change my program. Person class here, I just don't want to assign the data. Here I'm assigning the data, right? I don't want to assign the data for local variable. I want to test so whether null is assigning string, right? I have taken purposefully description as a variable name, so I want to test whether null is assigning or not. So go and compile your program. Java C person.java, I want to compile my program. Variable description might not have been initialized. Java line number 11, so it will our Java compiler is very good. It will give you the where your compilation errors are you are getting compilation error. So here Java line number 11, you are trying to print a variable which is not assigned. This default values concept is available only for the class level. Method level or local level. That means what are method level variables? The variables that are defined inside the method are called as a local variables or method level variables. These variables are no default values will be assigned. No default values are assigned for these variables. So then what happens if you don't assign anything and you are trying to use it, definitely it will throw a compilation error. Your program will not be get compiled if you are not assigning the data. Method level variables or local variables should be assigned with the data before using them. Otherwise, it will fail in compilation. The compilation error, you will get the compilation error. Got it right? So what is the difference between a class level variable and a method level variable? Ashok. Ashok, what are the differences between class level variable and the method level variable? Okay, Nandita.
Method level variables are the variables which are defined inside a method,
Okay.
like local variables. They are also called as local variables. Class level variables are the variables which are defined inside the class,
Okay.
like outside the methods and which are starting whatever it is, not in any method.
Okay, so we are defining at the class level. Those are also called as instance variables. And any differences?
Like, default values which are assigned only for the class level variables,
Yes.
not for the local variables.
Yes. So local variables, what happens if you don't assign any value?
It throws a compilation error.
Your program will not be compiled if you try to use the variable method level variable without assigning any value. But in the class level, I try to use all the variables without assigning any data. What we are getting? We are getting the default values. That's the difference between the class level variable and the method level variable. So here I want to write all my variables in the end of the program. This is a class, right? So class, that's right. So is my program is going to work or not? So here we will assign a person. So we just want to assign it so that we can description person class person object info. So we'll write like this object info. Okay, so I want to define the variables at the end. Is it correct? I'm using all of my variables, name, age, height, weight, programmer. I'm using all my variables and I'm defining that. So anybody?
That should work. That should work.
That should work. You said right, you should be defining at the beginning. That's why I wrote it at the end. So
No, it
why
should
it
work like it's not a it does Java is not like top-down approach. It is like it goes into methods, searches for the variable. And
yes, yes, correct. Okay. So whenever you create a person class object, what will happen is it will allocate the memory, right? And first thing it will do is it will allocate the memory. It will find out the all class level variables. It will find all class level variables. It will allocate the memory for all these variables. That is the first thing whenever you create an object. You write in the middle, you write at the beginning, you write at the end. That doesn't make any difference for the class level variables. So in a C or C++, you have to define the variables in the C at the beginning, in the C++ before using them. But there is no strict rule here. Class level variables. So I'm speaking only for the class level variables. Class level variables can be defined any place. Generally, as a practice, we will define at the beginning because we learn from our programming C, C++, right? So this Java is also came from the C++. We'll define all our variables at the beginning of the program, and also it is very convenient to see all these variables at the beginning itself, because if somebody is defining at the end, I have to scroll all the way down, and I have to verify it to say it. So it's convenient to define at the beginning itself. But if you see some old textbooks that are written in 2000 or earlier, you will be seeing the variables are defined at the end. So why so? So I'm using the variable actually, and you are defining it. Actually, in any programming language that is not correct. But in Java, so the data here, all these variables are allocated with the memory whenever you are creating an object. That is the first thing is happening. That's why you can define the variables at any place. So let's see whether this is working or not. So I am trying to compile it. Yes, Java person. So it is getting work. Okay, that's one important point. And also, if you don't I am not using weight at all in any of the objects, but I'm trying to print it here. I'm trying to print it, but I'm not using the weight, but still the memory will be allocated. If you define 10 variables, which you are not at all using in your class, all those variables will be allocated with the memory whenever you create an object. So we should be very careful while defining a variables at the class level. If we are not using it, still it will be going to allocate the memory. So we should be carefully defining those variables. That's why there is another point in the class definition. Class is having a, variables and methods. That means the class is having some of the variables which are all called as a class level variables, and those variables must act upon the methods. There is another third point, so that everybody uses those variables in any one of these methods, where we wrote here. Class consists of variables and methods, and these variables act in methods. I don't use those variables. I define 100 variables, but I'm using only 2-3 variables in my methods to write down my logic. But remaining all 96, 97 variables that what you are writing are allocated with the memory without any purpose. So we should be very careful while defining the variables. If you are using it, define it. Otherwise, don't define it. Okay. These variables should act in the methods. Okay, we'll go back and we'll assign some weight. Also here there is a weight. Weight is a float value. Let's go ahead and assign a value here. P dot. I'm just giving a dummy value. So, right. So here 50. So I can give decimals 50.878. Just I want to assign it for one variable. Let's go ahead and compile our program. So compile it. It is showing an error. P dot weight, that's correct. Decimal value, P dot weight is a float. Possibly lost conversion from double to float. Whenever you are defining a float values, so if you assign the values with the decimals, it will automatically treat in our Java. Any number with the decimal will be treated as a double. That's a default. So here I will write down here. Any number decimal, right? So with the here, let's write down here. Any number with the decimal is treated as by default double automatically. But how you will get the float? Float is smaller than double, so float is occupying only 4 bytes in memory. Double occupies 8 bytes. But if you give one, so here this is a very small number. 50.78 is a very small number. If I give 1.1 also, 1.0 also, it will be treated as a double value. How should I give the float numbers? So you should at the end of the number you should give capital F or small f to indicate this is a float number. Okay, now let's go and change our program. So you can give the capital F to indicate this is a float value, not a double value. Now compile it. It is getting compiled and execute. Java person. You need out here, so I am getting the weight for the first. Okay, by default, without decimal, all will be treated as integer, and by default, with decimals, all will be treated as a double value. So if you want to give the float numbers, or if you want to give here, go there, and if you want to give the uh, float numbers specifically, there will be a problem. So you will get a compilation error, possible loss of precision trying to convert from double to float. It will always think, okay, this decimal number is a double number, and you are trying to assign it to the float. Okay, this double is occupying 8 bytes and float is occupying only 4 bytes. You will lose the data. That is what it is complaining. So in order to avoid that compilation error, we have to give. So don't consider this as a double number. Consider only this as a float number. We will at the end of the number we'll give capital F or a small f for the float. So a float will create a problem. That's why we always use a double, even a little bit memories. Is more no problem. So whatever you want it, you can use it. So you got all the points in our first program, right? So this about the first program. So we'll revise what we discussed. So what is a class? So somebody who is not speaking, please. Ashok, Manikanta. So I'm not seeing your audio. Manikanta, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Oh yes, Manikanta. Okay, you
Yeah.
joined as a yeah, phone or through the phone. No problem. What is a
Yeah.
class?
If we define some characteristics in a class, all the variables in that class will be having the same attributes or same things
Yes,
in that class.
so we'll call them as variables and the methods. So class consists of variables and methods, and all the variables are acting upon these methods. Okay, so what variables represent? So what is the purpose of these variables?
Those variables.
I'm defining so many variables, right? So in any class. So what is
Yeah.
the purpose of those variables? The purpose of those variables is to store the information, right?
Yeah.
Yes. They are going to represent the state of your class. What is the purpose of the methods? I'm writing a method here, a print a person data. I'm writing a method. What is the purpose of these methods?
It's to print the method.
Here I'm printing it, but the purpose of the any method you are writing is to perform some logics or perform actions.
Yeah.
They will describe the behavior of what your class is doing. Okay, so if somebody is asking a class, what is a class? Class consists of a state and behavior. State is represented through variables and behavior is represented through the methods. This is how we have to answer.
Okay.
Okay, so good. Thank you, Manikanta, and so we'll continue our program. So any doubts in this program? So our person class. We learned very important points, basic points how to write our program. So who wrote this program? Myself. So so you should give the comments who has written this program, when this written, and why you are writing this method or a program or any complex logic is there. I need to give comments. You know, from C or C++, Java is coming from the C++. So here comments, just like in all programs we have comments. Comments are, you can write anything in the file. Those are not processed by the compiler. Compiler don't touch the comments. So // is used for single line comments. So /*, so double line comments or multi-line comments. So you can use a /* and //. These are used for multi-line comments. Okay. So there are another type. These two are there in the C and C++ also. In Java also these two are there. But here there are another type of comments, double */. These are called as a documentation comments. We'll see them documentation comments a little later. Uh, 3 types of comments are available in our Java. These comments are to increase the readability of the program and to provide some extra information in the program so that everybody understands what we are writing in the program. And these comments will not be processed by the compiler, so whatever you like it and the way you want to write anything extra in the program, you can write it. Just a single line, just go for this one, slash slash. Multi-line comments go for like this, and documentation comments go like this, double star. So let's go and write down few comments here in the person class. So I want to write here multi-line comments. So how to write down multi-line comments? Slash star star slash, starting with the slash star, ending with the star slash. Here I want to write down other, so that everybody understands who is writing, what is the purpose. So date, so I want to give today's date 21/10/2016. I gave in the Indian format. Okay, so purpose, demonstrate class and use. So just what is the purpose you are using it? So actually this is, I wrote this like this, but in a project we will be writing in a more appropriate, this person will be used so and so places like that. Okay, any additional comments, or you want to write on the logic? So here this is a float variables. Here I want to write float values should suffix with f or here why I am giving f, I am explaining here in a single line comment. If you see it, so these comments will not be processed by the compiler. You can write your comments anywhere. Generally, we'll be writing for the class at the top of the class the purpose and other when you created. For the methods, we'll be writing down what this method is doing, or if you are writing a very complex logic in order to understand by the others or increase the program readability, we'll be writing the here and there comments. So how to write the comments? 3 types of comments are there: single line comments, multi-line comments, and documentation comments. So extra star, if you give extra star at the beginning, it will become a documentation comments. So if you give like this, but if you see here like this is a documentation. It has a different meaning. Documentation comments has a different meaning. We'll go through them later. It's always good to keep some comments in the program. Okay, any doubts here? Okay. Okay, so here I want to write one more class. Just like our person class, I want to write one more class, address. I want to write address class. So class address. So address consists of string door number, string street name, string city, string country. I will give like long pin code or chip code, whatever you want it. I want to write a method to print all my address, or we will write a method to return a address string. So I want to return the address string. So here I want to write return type is a string and get address. I'm writing method. So you need to return a string object. So here, so I want to return is a keyword. Return is a keyword used to return something. So return. So you need to return a door number. You need to give a comma. Anything can be added to the string, right? So I want to give a comma. Then street name. I want to give comma again. So comma is just a string, that's why I'm putting it here. Plus city. I want to give comma again. And country. and I want to give a hyphen, then I want to add a pin code. Pin code all single word, or you want to give like 2 different words, fine. I want to return the entire string. Anybody has any doubt here or how I am writing? Yes, I want to return one address. So save the program. I want to compile it. I define few variables and save the program. Compile the program. Java address dot. The program is compiled. Can I execute the program? Vinay, can I execute the program? Java address dot Java address. Can I do this one?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Java address.
Java address. What happens if you give Java address?
Sorry.
What happens if you give Java address?
You can execute the program.
So you can execute the program. What is the answer I am getting?
Address, the string, door number, street number, city, country, everything.
There is no main method.
Yes, there is no main method. Try to execute it. What will happen? Try to execute it. What will happen? Main method not found in class address. So here the syntax is Java main method class name. We can't give any class name. Okay. So Vinay, everybody, here the syntax is Java C. You can give file name. This is file name, not class name. This is file name. Here main method class name. The syntax says you have to give only class names which are having the main method. So address is not having the main method, so it will throw in exception. You should write the main method to it. Okay, so I don't want to write it. I want to go back to the person class. So person, so I want to define another variable here, address variable. Can I define it? Yes, it is just like, assume that it's like a string. So string name in the similar fashion, string is a predefined class, address is my class. I want to define address. Okay, so I want to print this address, whatever the address you are having. So I already have this easy programmer, all these things, right? In the print person data, I want to print system.out.println. So I want to print the address. Everything will be printed here from the address class. This is my address class. This door number, street name, everything will be printed. So I want to print. So how to print get address? I have to call the get address method so that I will print door number, comma, street name, comma, city, comma, country, hyphen, pin code. I will print like this. I need to call this get address method. So because this is returning a string, so I have to put system.out.println. So here get address. Get address method is giving me a string. I am printing that string. So here get address method is not available in this class. It is available in address class. You have to use add or dot. That's how we will use, right? Object name dot get address. Did you get what I am trying to say? So we'll keep these variables in the beginning so that it will be easy for us to see it. Okay, I have address variable and I am calling that get address method from this. What will happen now? Try it out, somebody. Manoj, try it out. What will happen here? What if I compile my program? Is it going to compile it?
I think yes, sir.
Yes. So why yes?
So we created the object, the
We created
class
a
as an
variable
object.
and we are referring there is a method in the address class, so I am calling that address class method. That's good. It's compiling. So what answer you will get whenever you execute your method?
Now the default values.
The default value. So here I will get so where is my personal class? Sorry, door number null because all these are strings and pin code is 0. So 0 null comma null comma null comma null hyphen 0. So we should get it like this. Okay, let's go ahead and compile our program. What program we need to compile? Person class person.java. This is compiled, very good. So I want to execute person. I'm not getting an answer. Exception is thrown and it stopped the program. Okay, did I create an object for address class? I defined the variable. Did I created it? Object? No. There is no compilation problem here because this is instance variable, right? If you don't create an object, what will happen? It will assign a default value. What is the default value here? Null value. Okay, null is a default value because address is a reference type. It is a class. It's a reference type. Null is a default value. You are trying to access something from the null. Here address is null, right? Address. So get address is a method you are trying to access from null. There is no object actually here. I didn't create it. Null, you are trying to access from the null. So it is a throwing you null pointer exception. You can't access something from the null. If you don't print that get address method, you don't get exception. Your program will work fine. But you are trying to access something from a null value, that is the wrong. So it is showing person 24th line. So this is where it is getting exception. Where to create an object? You can create an object here, but if you create an object here, it will be common for all objects who are creating person, right? I have 3 objects. I don't want to create an object here at that. So you can create, that's fine, but I want to create at each level. Okay, how to create this one? Okay, now I want to create an address object, address, p address, new address. So I want to assign some data for variables, idea dot door number, some values. So we'll quickly do it. So door number 34-15, paddr dot street name Johnson Street, paddr dot city New York. Now paddr dot country, and the country is US, and paddr. So you can write generally we don't write like this, so we'll be writing one statement one line, but here for the purpose of convenience of seeing, so I'm writing like this, paddr dot pin code, right? So pin code. So this is a long value, so pin code will be in 4 or 5 digits. Okay. So I assigned it, so that's good. Now I created an object. I didn't assign to the p. I just created an object and assigned the values. This is different. So I have to assign it. P dot addr is equal to paddr. Okay, I assigned it. Okay. Next. So here I want to create an object. Here also p1. So you can write down like this. P1 dot, before calling the person, P1 dot addr is equal to new address. I don't want to assign any values here. If you want to assign some values, we can assign. So for example, I want to assign P1 dot addr dot door number. You can assign like this dot operators. This P1 dot addr, what is this one? Address object. Inside the address object I have door number. We can chain up like this. Door number is equal to, so we can use some door number. So 23 -56 by a. Okay, so we can assign like this. So let's keep it simple as of now. So here also I want to, before calling that person, so p2 dot addr is equal to new addr, new address. Okay, let's go ahead and compile. So Java C person.java. So I am compiling my program Java person. So here we will see it. So I didn't assign all the values here. That's why we are getting here. We are getting correctly. Assign all the values. So door number, street name, city, country, and pin code. So here I didn't assign all the values. You are getting the default values. The relation between the person and address class is person has address. This whenever you define other class objects inside another class, these are having a relation between these two things. Person has address. This relation is a has a relation. We'll discuss more about has a relation is a relation in the next session. The homework is same. Today the homework is the person class and address class. The same thing what I did it yesterday and today. I'm not sharing this example. You have to do it. You can see the video, or if you have any doubts, you want to type it. Yes, type this program, compile it, and if you want to send it, no problem, because it's already there, right? You just have to practice the same program. Tomorrow I will give you some other task. Tomorrow we'll sit and I will give it another task. Okay? We'll meet in tomorrow's session. Have a good night.